Lena had always been close to her cousin, Jasmine. They had grown up together in a small town, playing in the fields behind their homes and sharing secrets late into the night. But there was a secret between them that neither had dared speak of, an unspoken bond that went beyond family. It had all started during one of those lazy summer afternoons, when their parents were away. They had been sitting on the porch, talking about their lives, their dreams. Jasmine had always been beautiful, her long dark hair cascading down her back, her laughter like music. Lena, on the other hand, had always been more reserved, content to observe rather than participate in the loudness of life. But that afternoon, something shifted. As they sat side by side, Lena's heart raced as she noticed the way Jasmine's eyes lingered on her. There was something different in her gaze, something Lena had never seen before. Without thinking, Lena leaned in, and their lips met, soft and tentative at first, then deeper, more urgent. From that moment on, their relationship changed. What had once been innocent now felt charged, filled with desire they had both suppressed for years. Every stolen kiss, every touch, felt like a dangerous secret they were both willing to keep hidden. But the more they saw each other, the more Lena felt torn. She loved Jasmine, but she knew it was wrong. They couldn't keep this a secret forever. One evening, after a late-night rendezvous, Lena went home, her mind swirling with guilt. Her husband, Daniel, was sitting on the couch, flipping through TV channels, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside her. The weight of the affair pressed heavily on her chest. She had tried to push it aside, to act like everything was normal. But the truth kept resurfacing. Daniel was a good man, loving, supportive, and attentive. But something in their marriage had been missing for a long time. The passion they once shared had faded, replaced by routine and obligation. Lena had fallen into a pattern, going through the motions of being a wife. But her heart was elsewhere now. She tried to convince herself it was just a phase. But the more she was with Jasmine, the harder it became to ignore the truth. One night, as Lena lay in bed beside Daniel, her mind kept drifting to Jasmine. She could feel the weight of her own deception bearing down on her. She couldn't keep living this double life. The affair had to end. But Lena knew that doing so would shatter something inside her that she wasn't sure could ever be repaired. As Lena lay there, her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand. It was a message from Jasmine. "We need to talk tonight." Lena's heart skipped a beat. She knew that whatever was coming would change everything. What she didn't know was that this conversation would set in motion a chain of events that would lead to one unimaginable tragedy. Lena couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her stomach. She stared at the message from Jasmine, her thumb hovering over the screen, unable to respond. What did Jasmine want to talk about? Could it be that she wanted to end things too? The thought of it made Lena's heart ache, but deep down, she knew that the secrecy couldn't last forever. After pretending to sleep next to Daniel, Lena quietly slipped out of bed, her movements careful not to wake him. She grabbed her jacket and stepped into the cool night air. Her car was parked in the driveway, the headlights cutting through the darkness as she drove through the empty streets of the town, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. She arrived at Jasmine's house in 10 minutes, her hands trembling as she knocked on the door. It opened almost immediately, and there was Jasmine, her face pale, her eyes bloodshot. The sight of her made Lena's heart ache even more. They stood there for a moment, the tension thick between them. Neither spoke, but the weight of everything they had been hiding was pressing down on them. Finally, Jasmine broke the silence. "We can't keep doing this, Lena. I can't." Her voice cracked, and she looked away, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Lena stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Jasmine's arm. "I know. I don't want to hurt anyone. But I don't know how to stop feeling the way I do about you." Jasmine pulled away, her eyes filled with desperation. "This is too dangerous. Your husband, he's going to find out. People will talk. I don't want to ruin everything for you." "I'm already ruining everything," Lena whispered. "I can't keep living like this, pretending everything's fine when it's not. I love you, Jasmine, and I hate what this is doing to us." For a moment, there was silence again, the air heavy with the unsaid words and the weight of their shared guilt. Jasmine's lips trembled, but then her face hardened, a flicker of something dark crossing her features. "We can't keep doing this," she repeated, but this time, her voice had changed. It wasn't soft and filled with fear anymore. It was cold, almost angry. Lena frowned. What do you mean? Jasmine's eyes narrowed. You don't understand, do you? You think you can just end this and everything will go back to normal? That your husband won't find out? That there won't be consequences? There will be, Lena. There will be. Lena's chest tightened, confusion and fear swirling inside her. What are you saying, Jasmine? Jasmine stepped back, turning her head toward the window, her voice barely above a whisper. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I can't just let you go. I won't let you go. The words hit Lena like a punch to the stomach. What are you talking about? She gasped, but before she could react, Jasmine turned back toward her, her eyes wide with something between fear and rage. You think I'm just going to walk away? That easily? You think I'm going to let you go back to your perfect little life with Daniel? Jasmine's voice was rising now, her hands shaking. No. If you leave me, I'll make sure that no one can have you. Not even Daniel. Lena stepped back, her heart pounding in her chest. What was Jasmine saying? What had started as a tender love affair was now something unrecognizable, something dark and dangerous. She felt the walls closing in around her, suffocating her. I don't want this anymore, Jasmine. We can end it now. We have to, before it's too late. Jasmine's lips twisted into a bitter smile. It's already too late. In that moment, Lena saw something in Jasmine's eyes that terrified her. The woman she had loved, the cousin she had once shared everything with, was gone. What stood before her was a person, capable of things Lena couldn't even begin to understand. The truth hit her like a slap. Jasmine wasn't going to let her go. Without warning, Jasmine reached into the back pocket of her jeans and pulled out a small, sharp knife, the blade glinting in the dim light of the room. Lena froze, her breath caught in her throat. What are you doing? She whispered, her voice trembling. Jasmine's expression hardened as she took a step forward. I'll make sure you never leave me. You'll stay with me, one way or another. Lena's pulse raced. She tried to step back, but the door was too far. Her heart pounded in her chest as she realized that the woman she had loved was now a threat to her very life. Lena's mind raced, panic setting in as she backed away from Jasmine, her breath shallow and erratic. The knife in Jasmine's hand gleamed, ominously under the pale moonlight, filtering through the window. The woman who had once been her closest confidant, her secret lover, was now a stranger, someone driven by a desperation and rage that Lena didn't know how to counter. Jasmine, please, don't do this, Lena pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper, almost choking on the words. We can end this. You don't have to do something we'll both regret. But Jasmine's eyes were hard now, her grip on the knife tightening, her face contorting with emotion, fear, anger, and something darker, something like obsession. You don't get it, do you, Lena? She spat. I loved you. I gave you everything, and you think you can just walk away? I won't let you. You're mine. Lena's heart thundered in her chest. She knew she had to act, but the terror gripping her body left her frozen, unable to think clearly. Jasmine was no longer the cousin she had known and loved. She was a person consumed by a dangerous obsession, willing to go to any length to keep Lena in her life. As Jasmine took a step forward, Lena's survival instincts kicked in. She couldn't just stand there and beg for mercy. She needed to find a way out. Her eyes darted around the room, looking for anything that could help her, anything that could give her the upper hand. Her gaze landed on the heavy vase on the shelf beside the window. Without thinking, she lunged toward it, grabbing it with both hands. In one swift motion, she swung it toward Jasmine, hitting her across the face with a sickening crack. Jasmine staggered back, momentarily stunned, and Lena seized the opportunity. She pushed past her cousin, scrambling toward the door. But Jasmine recovered quickly, faster than Lena expected. With a snarl, she grabbed Lena's arm, pulling her back with surprising strength. The two women struggled, grappling in the dimly lit room, each trying to overpower the other. Lena's heart raced, her thoughts clouded with desperation. She couldn't let Jasmine hurt her. She couldn't let this be the end. The knife was still in Jasmine's hand, and Lena could feel the sharpness of it grazing her skin as they fought. The blood pounded in her ears, making it hard to think. In that moment, Lena's instincts took over. With all the strength she could muster, she twisted out of Jasmine's grip, her hands shaking as she reached for the knife. The two women stood facing each other now, both breathing heavily, their bodies trembling with exhaustion and fear. Lena's fingers tightened around the handle of the knife as she raised it, ready to defend herself. But as she stared into Jasmine's eyes, she saw something that stopped her cold, a look of complete and utter madness. Jasmine's lips curled into a twisted smile, and for a brief, horrifying moment, Lena realized that her cousin had already gone too far, that there was no coming back from this. Jasmine wasn't the woman she had known, the woman she had once loved. She was a stranger now, someone who had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. In a sudden, violent motion, Jasmine lunged at her, the knife aimed directly at Lena's chest. Everything happened in a blur. Lena's body reacted before her mind could process it. She raised the knife in self-defense, and in that instant, the two knives collided. The force of the impact sent a shock through Lena's arm. She felt the cold steel of Jasmine's blade pierce her skin, just above her ribs, as her own knife sliced across Jasmine's arm, cutting deep into her flesh. Both women cried out in pain, but Lena's pain was drowned out by the rush of adrenaline that coursed through her. Jasmine fell back, her hand clutching her bleeding arm, the knife dropping from her grasp. She stumbled, her face pale and twisted in agony, before collapsing to the floor. Lena stood frozen, panting, the knife still gripped tightly in her hand. Her heart hammered in her chest as she stared down at her cousin's bleeding body. She hadn't meant for any of this to happen. She hadn't meant for things to escalate to violence. But now, in the stillness of the room, she knew that everything had changed. Jasmine was barely conscious, her breath shallow, her body twitching slightly on the floor. Lena could hear her faint cries, but it was clear that the struggle had taken its toll. She could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on her, the terror and guilt rushing over her like a wave. She had just killed her cousin, the person who had once been her everything. As Lena stood there, her mind reeling, she heard the sound of sirens in the distance, growing louder by the second. Her hands trembled as she dropped the knife to the floor, her knees giving way beneath her. She collapsed onto the ground beside Jasmine, her heart aching with the realization of what she had just done. The police arrived minutes later, their flashing lights painting the walls of the house in red and blue. Lena didn't resist as they approached, didn't try to run. She had no excuse for what had happened. There was no explanation that could make sense of the blood that now stained her hands. As the officers arrested her and led her away, Lena glanced back at the lifeless body of her cousin, her heart heavy with regret. What had once been a secret love affair had ended in a brutal, bloody murder, a tragedy no one could have predicted. And as Lena was driven away, her life shattered. She knew that there would be no escaping the consequences of what she had done.